welcome everyone. My name is Kayla. I am a volunteer for ESF, and today I'm here with Ilona, who has done some work with GRI in the past. And first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to come on here and talk about your experiences.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. Why don't we start a little bit with your background and how you kind of got into working with GRI?
Sure. It's a little bit of a roundabout way, so I'll give you the Clips Notes version. I'm a teacher, and before I got into teaching, actually, I was a zookeeper. So I kind of went from informal education and conservation work to then more of a formal setting. And so I've always had a love for the natural world and for animals and endangered species in particular has always been something I'm very passionate about. So I had applied to work for this pilot program at our local zoo over a summer. It was called Conservation Leadership Academy. And our zoo was looking for 5 or 6 individuals in the education sector to kind of work towards developing curriculum and sort of outreach lessons that would get young people to kind of buy in more to conserving the natural world, but really being invested in particular in conserving endangered species and endangered plants and animals. And so we worked for a whole summer. We met once a month and we had meetings online, and we really kind of knocked our heads around and together, and then worked for a whole school year as well, trying to develop curriculum in our own respective schools with mostly teenagers, high school students, and kind of realized that it's really hard to do. It's not something that's easy to get kids to buy into really what's happening mostly half a world away. And so I got an opportunity to actually write a grant to go and do some boots on the ground educational research field work for a summer, that next summer. And I could write it about anything. So I thought, well, if we worked for like a year and tried to figure this out and we hadn't really come to a great conclusion about how to get kids to get this buy-in or develop it, then I needed to write my grant about that. And so I did. I said, I want to go to Africa. I want to work with people who are, really on the front line for conserving endangered species and, endangered places, and working with the community. And that's kind of how I got involved in working with GRI. I had a loose colleague who had done some work with GRI and said, hey, I think that you should go here. And so the rest was kind of history.
Yeah, that's super interesting because I like ask everyone who, wants to sit down and talk about their experience, like where did you kind of Before we continue, I'd love to ask you a small favor. If this story touches you, please like and subscribe. It may seem simple, but it really helps spread inspiration so more people can step out and make a difference in their own lives. And if you'd like to learn more, the links are at the end and in the description below. Now, let's hear more of this journey. How did you get into this? Like, what was your pathway in? Everybody has such a different answer, and that's really interesting. So you were a teacher first, and then kind of segued into working like conservation.
Yeah, I mean, my first love was animals. When I was a kid, I loved animals. I wanted to be Eliza Thornberry, from
Oh, yeah.
Nickelodeon. I wanted to talk to animals. I wanted to be out there in the jungle, and I worked really hard, and I got a lot of internships, and I worked in education in zoos. I worked for summer camps and education shows, and eventually worked my way into being a zookeeper. And I realized that my true passion was educating people. And so then I kind of made that segue into formal education.
Okay, so I backwards then. You were always really
Yeah.
into, like animals and conservation, and then you kind of worked
Yeah.
that into, I guess, like education.
Yes, yeah. It's in the field of conservation, I feel like is very hard. I have so much respect for everybody who works in conservation full time because it is just such a demanding field. And so I felt like where I could really be effective was in a formal classroom setting. I was able to split my time, and I still do a lot of work in conservation on the side. And so that really was kind of what suited my passions and my skill set. And so that's kind of where I am now. But I always tell my students too, I don't really know what I want to be when I grow up still.
No one does. So do you feel like that's where you're making the most impact in working with students and teaching maybe like a next generation?
I really do, yeah. I still give, some educational, informal talks to students, to school groups. I work with our local zoo. I go and I talk to our student volunteers in the summer. And every time that I go and I talk to them or any kids, you see that passion kind of spark. And I always say to them, it's not really my generation that's going to fix these problems. It's kind of our time has passed. And it's weird to think about it that way, but I really do believe that, my time has passed. It's no longer my job. I mean, I can keep working at it and keep chipping away at the issues that are going on with our planet, but it's the young generation that's really going to have the biggest effect. And so I do believe that I'm most effective doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. And do you work with like really young kids? Are they more like high school, or is it kind of like a mix of different ages?
I mostly work with high schoolers, middle schoolers, students that are, they're kind of starting to get that autonomy and they're starting to really find their voice and trying to figure out where they're at in the world and find their passion and really start to pursue that passion.
Yeah. So you see them kind of getting interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty neat to watch.
Is there like a specific instance that you could think of where you saw someone like maybe like their passion kind of like come forward, or is it just kind of like maybe like little things you see here and there?
It really is little things. It's the little conversations that you have with every different kid. Um, but I think honestly, it's in the questions they ask. It's when they ask those really thought-provoking questions, the ones that are super deep and make you stop and think. I've had kids ask me, do you feel like you owe something, to the environment? Do you feel like you owe something to, the endangered species that you've worked with because you've had these amazing experiences, because of the life that you've lived? Do you feel like something is owed? Like those are the questions that I've gotten where I've had to stop and think about it. And that kids are stopping and they're really thinking about it. And they're really kind of like, it's very introspective, they're kind of getting in there and they're thinking about, their stance and their, what they, how they feel about it. And that's when you kind of see the light bulb turn on. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I think it's interesting too to see how much like the younger generation, I think even younger than me, like how interested they are in protecting the environment and in conservation. Like I think even more than like people around my age, like I don't remember seeing kids being as interested in that when I was maybe like a teenager like 10 years ago. But now I see it so much more even through like social media. Like all the teenagers and like younger kids now are really like interested in conservation.
Yeah, 100%. Even it's funny because I remember when I worked at zoos full time and I would be walking around in the zoo and I would hear the conversations that school groups had, the kids had, or I would hear the conversations that families had with their kids. And 10, 15 years ago, it was mostly about having fun, doing something cool and seeing something neat. And even just a couple weeks ago when I was walking through our local zoo and hearing the conversations that the parents were having with kids, they were very informative and they were asking the kids, hey, do you see that animal doing that? Do you know why they do that? Or, hey, look at this sign. Did you read that? Parents want their kids to learn and they want them to learn about the world around them. They want them to be curious. So the conversations have really shifted.
I know, it's interesting. And I'm wondering like how did that shift in that period of time? Like maybe like what was the cause of that? I don't know if maybe you have any insight because you're kind of working around that field.
I think that there's a lot of factors. I think that there's been a huge push from everywhere. But I really do feel like social media the internet and having information available in your hand. I always tell people, I'm like, I have a phone, I have Google. Like, I forget sometimes, but we're constantly inundated with all of this information. It's in front of us so much more today than it was when I was in high school. I think about that. I didn't have a cell phone, when I was in school, when I was younger. And I think just getting that in front of kids more, even on social media, there are now ways that you can flag videos and pictures, even to say like, I don't like this, it makes me uncomfortable. This might be a video or a picture that might show animal abuse, or that might not be great because it doesn't show something that's super cool towards the environment or animals. That wasn't around when Facebook first was created, when I first got on Facebook. I can tell you that much. Even that starts to bring awareness. And so I think that's had a big effect.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering too. I was like, maybe from social media, even because now I see a lot of people are using AI more. And in like, videos about AI, I see like younger people in the comments that are like, actually, this isn't the best for the environment. Like this could be hurting the environment. And I was like, oh, I don't even know if I would have known that if I hadn't seen like somebody else bringing it up or starting that conversation.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that I've learned from teaching teenagers is they love to tell you when you're wrong. And if it helps, it helps. That's great. So I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, they're doing their part, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, you were saying also that you kind of had the opportunity to go to Africa and volunteer, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your experience there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was very different in a lot of ways. I think I was part of the first round of volunteers so I went to work with GRI because I wanted to do boots on the ground. And something that I knew and that I was I felt very strongly about, and I was very vocal about when I was looking for a place to go and get some fieldwork experience, was that, and I knew that it was probably going to be paid volunteering for my fieldwork. I didn't want to do ecotourism because most ecotourism, like 90% of ecotourism, is not really great for the environment, because you see all these pictures on websites of people going out and they're helping the environment, and then the next picture is of somebody cuddling with a baby jaguar. Yeah. And that's great. And I love that experience for people. I had it when I was a zookeeper. I mean, it's an amazing experience. It really does touch your heart, and it shifts something inside of you. I get that. And I love that for people. But that's not helping the environment. And I knew that I didn't want to work for any organization that advertised that, because that wasn't really environmentalism and conservation in the way that I wanted to go about it. And so when a friend of mine mentioned GRI and said, hey, they are very strict about, this is rehabilitation at its core. That was when I really started looking into them specifically. And my friend is actually Zambian. And so she's a college professor. She's an amazingly talented and incredibly smart person. And so when I was trying to find somewhere to go, I went to a primary source. I was like, I don't know anything. Help me out. And so she recommended them. I looked into GRI, and I think one of the things that was really different was I was in the first cohort of the holistic volunteer experience. So they had just introduced, instead of being somewhere permanently for 3 weeks, hey, you'll go to each placement, and they had included Musa Gate, the ranger station, the ranger training facility, which might have been my favorite spot, just because we were so out there. And I learned a lot, I experienced a lot. The second thing was I traveled during COVID, and I was in Zambia when the country shut down, actually, for COVID. And so we had to change a lot of our plans quickly. I was traveling with a mask on all the time. I was masked up anytime that I went I have a picture of me actually teaching, because that was another really cool thing, because I was a teacher. When we got to go out and do our fieldwork placement in the schools, they actually invited me up to teach the classes, which was terrifying because I wasn't told ahead of time, but it was also probably one of the most impactful experiences that I had. But there's a picture of me in front of the class and I'm teaching and I've got my mask on.
Yeah.
And so that is a very COVID specific, we've all got our masks on. And so I think that those were two specific to my placement experiences that were different. So we really had to learn to roll with it and change our plan for the day.
Yeah.
But through my experience with GRI, I learned so much. I learned so much about, in particular, the fact that GRI is at its core marketed and advertised as elephant conservation and rehabilitation, but it's not that at all. It is one small, tiny part of what they do. And part of what I do now is I go out and I still give talks about what I did for my field work for professional development as a teacher. And I can't fit everything I did into a 30, 45-minute speech. And the elephant part is a small part of it because they run health clinics, and there's a women's clinic that they built, and they build livestock pens to cut down on human wildlife conflict. And they go out into the schools and they teach the kids, and they go out into the communities and they talk to the families in the settlements who live off of subsistence farming and try to help them farm better and in ways that cut down on human wildlife conflict. And they run a weekly radio segment that helps to educate people. And I mean, there's so much that they do, and it really is holistic. They really do try to touch on everything because conservation is not one thing, it is everything. And when people have to fill a need, that's when the environment starts to get harmed. And that's what I really learned, is that, yeah, you can rehabilitate a baby elephant. It's a 15-year investment and it's a lot of money, or you can avoid ever having to rehabilitate that elephant to begin with. And it starts with the people. And so that, in my 3-week placement, I think was what I really learned, and what I was involved in a lot was, yeah, we're gonna spend time with the elephants, but we're also gonna do 150 other things. And you're gonna learn how to do all that too. And that really was impactful for me. So, and I know that might've gotten away a little bit from your question, but hopefully I answered it.
No, that was perfect, because
Okay, great.
that's also something, when I started interviewing people, I didn't realize that you guys had done all of that and gone and gone into the schools or worked with the women. And a lot of people were kind of bringing up those points too, because at first you do kind of just think of the elephants, and everybody talks about the elephants too, but they also bring up all these different factors that they were involved in while volunteering, and kind of how everything came together and had this impact on them.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that was a perfect answer, because it kind of encompassed everything. But I know you were saying that one of the things that had the biggest impact on you was going and teaching the students, especially during COVID, which is crazy, a crazy time to be, locked down and stuck somewhere. So I was wondering if you could maybe elaborate a little bit on why that was so especially impactful for you.
I think just learning about, when we went out into the schools, and also just going out and interviewing the families as well, because the kids were there, they were at home. And so talking to the parents, and talking to, because all the family, they live together, it's the mom and the dad and the aunt and the uncle and all the kids, and everything there is what they live off of. They have their livestock, and they have all of their crops that they grow for the year, and that's what they survive off of. It's their livelihood, and that really shows, what they're trying to protect. And you kind of understand when they run an elephant herd off of their farmland, and then a baby gets separated from the herd, you understand why they're protecting what keeps them alive. And so I think just talking to the community in general, and yeah, going out in the schools was especially impactful for me because I'm a teacher at heart. And so seeing how to teach, and just kind of flipping my teaching approach to teach those kids compared to teaching my kids in my classroom in the United States, where there's such a different approach and a different way that we run our classes. And then going into a Zambian classroom where it is just such a different, even classroom setup, the way that you talk to the kids, the way they interact with their teacher, I think just for me, that experience was really great because as teachers in traditional classrooms, we get used to having to pivot and change a lot. But that wasn't even, that was whiplash. And so it was a really like total immersion. But also seeing all of the additional things that the kids did on a daily basis. Their after school and during school club that GRI ran, where they had their garden and they were growing vegetables. And they also taught them about the elephants while they were gardening. And they went into the classrooms and taught them about elephants. And it was that holistic approach, developing the relationships with the kids and teaching them the skills that they already need that they are using when they're at home, but also learning about the surrounding wildlife. And just talking to the kids too. I asked them questions. First they were really standoffish because they're like, who is this person? I don't know you. But it was really neat just asking them about like how they interacted with wildlife. And it was normal. Like for me, seeing an elephant in the wild for the first time was like this like soul changing experience. And the kids were like, yeah, like it's for like me, I'm from Ohio. It's like deer. We see deer all the time. It's like, that's a deer, that's cool. And that's what it was like for the kids. And I was like, are you kidding me? You have jaguars and baboons and you have pumbas running around like these little warthogs, which I was in love. It was just so weird that like the kids were like, yeah.
Yeah, it's normal.
It was just so different, it was culture shock, it really was.
Yeah, it's funny because I just saw a video too. I think it was a zoo. I believe it was in Ireland, and they had like a little raccoon in one of the enclosures. And someone was like, "What? Like that's just a raccoon? Like you could see that like anywhere, but it is so different."
Yeah, it really is. Or like there's another zoo, I can't remember, and it's like they have guinea pigs, like on exhibit. It's like I had a guinea pig as a pet.
Yeah.
Like, but it's culture shock. Yeah.
I know, that was like my class pet in second grade, Cookie Dough the guinea pig.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
But yeah, when working with, those kids when you were volunteering, I'm wondering, did you see like any similarities or differences with like, the questions they were asking you versus, the kids you work with back home?
I think that they were really just curious about me in general, honestly. And I think the one thing, and I always have to remind myself of this as a teacher, is kids are kids.
Aww.
Kids are just kids, there's nothing different about them. Their experiences are all relative to them. They are the age that they're at the time. They go home to their families. They go to school, they have friends, they play, they have hobbies, and they like to talk about themselves. One thing that the kids did for us is they all like showed us their talents. They took some time and they just like, they performed songs and they like did, it was like a show and tell in class basically of, hey, what can you do? Let's show them stuff. And it really did remind me, like, it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. You can be in Zambia in a classroom. You could be in the United States, in Ohio, in my high school classroom. You could be in Australia in a classroom. It doesn't matter where you are. Kids are just kids. Yeah. Honestly, I think that really the big thing was when I got back home and my kids in my high school classroom were asking me questions about the students from Zambia, and their stereotypes and their preconceived notions were so off base.
Yeah.
And so it was really that was weird, me having to kind of meet those and sort of change that idea that a lot of my students back home in the US had about the students that I had met in Zambia.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I've thought of that too, because that's true. Like a lot of the students here, they aren't taught a lot about, maybe that part of the world. So they're not going to know a lot, and maybe they would just know these like stereotypes.
Yeah, it was very stereotypical, their questions. I mean, I got some weird ones, but it's just like any other country, the only big difference is that, honestly, I said building materials are different, here in the US, like I'm sitting right now in a house that, there's a lot of wood that we use to build. My living room is drywall and wood, and in Zambia it was cinder block because it gets hot there, and it's, they have a rainy season. Those
Yeah.
are the big differences. And the students, it was just, they were like, whoa, really? They just, a lot of it is the stereotypical stuff that they see in the movies. And so, yeah, the questions were really very interesting.
Well, that's good you were able to kind of bridge that gap for them.
Yeah, it was definitely, that I think was really neat. I showed pictures and showed videos in class for a lot at the time. Like when I got back and my students were working, I had a GoPro on me a lot, and I would play videos from my GoPro, my GoPro Quick or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really fun for them. I'm sure they love to see like all the videos and everything that you had.
Yeah, it was a lot of just show and tell for a couple weeks.
But yeah, so you were there, you said during COVID. Was that like right when it happened, like when all the restrictions happened?
Yeah, at first it wasn't. And so actually our time going out and like conducting interviews and going into the schools got cut short. And that really was because when we got there, that was when it started to cool down. It's funny. I'm a teacher, I'm a scientist. I should have known, it's like, I'm going to be below the equator. It's going to be winter during my summer. I forgot, and I was actually pretty salty about that. But it was pretty cold. It was like 40 degrees a night. So they had moved into their winter season when I got there. And so people had started to really move inside a lot. And that, I think, that was really why COVID started to explode. And so in my second week, towards the end of my first week, beginning of my second week, while I was there, is really when the COVID infection rates just went sky high. And that was when the country went on lockdown. So
yeah,
I was very fortunate that was when I was leaving right outside the orphanage, right outside of Lusaka, and we were really going into the interior. We were going to Musa Gate, and then we were going to the release facility. So we were really getting out of the quote unquote civilization. We weren't in any of the big cities anymore. But it definitely still affected the way that we went about doing things.
Yeah, I'm sure that was probably scary too to think of, because you're away from home and now all this stuff is going on. I know someone told me recently that their family was in Mexico and they got stuck in Mexico and they were stuck home alone for I think probably a month or so because of the lockdowns.
That's nuts. That's crazy. That I was not stuck anywhere. I did have a lot of COVID tests. I had a lot of swabs shoved up my nose. So many. I got so many COVID tests in my month in Africa.
Oh my God.
Because I went to Zambia, and then from Zambia I went to Tanzania for a week, and then home. And I cannot even tell you the amount of COVID tests that I so that I could fly. I think I took 15 flights in total, not including connections, but so. But to be stuck in Mexico for a month, that's something else.
I know, I was oh my God, because I guess I didn't realize people got stuck, because I knew other people that were traveling and they were just sent home. They're you can't be here. So I didn't realize
Bye.
Yeah, some people actually got stuck places, but
yeah,
luckily that didn't happen.
Yeah, thank God. That would have been weird if I got, it's you can't come back.
Yeah, oh my God.
Luckily that didn't happen though.
Yeah, luckily. But you said it was 3 weeks, was it, that you were there for?
Yes, yeah. I was in Zambia for 3 weeks, and then I went to Tanzania for 1 week, and then I left Tanzania and went back to the United States. So I spent a full month in Africa. But I did my 3-week placement with GRI. So 1 week at each place, which was really, really cool. Going to all of the different sites was so neat because every one of them is so different. And then finishing off, because I really wanted to get to Victoria Falls, and that's how they round out the holistic placement. And so the one thing that I wanted to do The one thing I wanted to do while I was there, and I told this to the people I was traveling with, I was like, listen, the only thing I want to do, the only thing I'll put my foot down about, really want to bungee jump into Victoria Falls. And I got to do that. So when we got down there, which is really very, I felt some type of way about it. Like you go, because you know at Victoria Falls, like there's the bridge and you can then cross over into Zimbabwe. And so you have to go to like the customs and immigration officials there in the little building, and you have to say, hey, I'm not going to Zimbabwe, I'm gonna go bungee jump. And they go, okay, and you hand them your passport and they just kind of put it on the desk. And you're like, so you're not gonna lose that, right? And they're like, we got it. It's like, okay. And then you go to like the bungee jumping place. But so it was really cool. Like going down there and doing all that was just a great way to end. So,
would you have any advice for anyone who is looking to volunteer?
for GRI specifically?
Yeah, for GRI, or maybe just if someone who's like looking to kind of step out and do something out of their comfort zone even.
Yeah, for sure. In general, just to volunteer, I would say know where your money's going if it's paid volunteering, because usually it is.
Mm-hmm.
So educate yourself. Know what you're doing. Know what the organization is about. Transparency is key. GRI is very transparent about where the money goes, what they do, what you're funding, what they're funding, what's legal, what you're expected to do, what you're not expected to do, or what you cannot expect to do. And I think that's important. Transparency, being aware of what the organization is about, so that you can make informed decisions and be safe. I think that that's important. I think other than that, you're never going to have all the answers and something will go wrong.
Yeah.
So be open to rolling with it, but do it if you want to. Like if you're interested, just rip the Band-Aid off and do it. And then for GRI, I would say be open to anything, be open to the schedule changing, and don't be afraid to ask, because the worst they can say is no. But if there's an experience you want to have, or there's something that you're really passionate about, ask, because I think usually they were fairly open. While I was there, I had the zoo crew actually from our local zoo. They had all these questions for me, and I said, why don't you compile them into a Word document, and I'll ask while I'm there. And Skip, at the time the head of GRI was at Musa Gate, and he actually took time out of his morning and he sat down with me for about an hour, and just one-on-one, and I got to ask him all the questions that those kids asked me, that they sent me. So I got to sit down with him and he answered those questions, and I got to bring them back for the kids, which they would have never thought to be able to do, and I wouldn't have, and they offered to do that for me, which, not a lot of places will do. So just ask. You never know what they'll be open to. Yeah.
I feel like that's like the theme for this episode, is just rip the Band-Aid off.
Do the thing. Yeah.
Go try something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for coming and speaking with your experiences. I feel like I could talk to you for like hours. Like you have such good stories. But I don't want to make the editing too hard for John to do. So
okay, good. Or it's like, yeah, usually these things are 15 minutes. Oh man.
Honestly, if you ever want to come back and talk again about your experiences, like that would be incredible, because I love all your stories, and I feel like I have like so many even more questions I could ask you.
For sure, anytime. This was awesome. I love that you're doing this. So if you ever want me to come back and talk, or absolutely. But thank you for inviting me. This has been great.
Thank you so much. And I love your hair, by the way. I meant to say that in the beginning. I was like, I love that color.
Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy the summer months.
I will.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.